Okay, quick recap. We've just hopefully got everything installed now. So you've got Ruby installed, you've got RubyMine, you've got Selenium and Cucumber, and we're ready to progress things a little bit. Let's just, before we go on, I'll just do a quick rundown of what we've done so far. This first line here, require Selenium WebDriver, just basically imports the library that we require, the Selenium WebDriver library that we need to take control of the web browser and do things to it and take control of it. Here on the next line, we're creating a driver variable and we are assigning that the Selenium WebDriver here, and we're doing it for Chrome. So we've now, this driver, we've now got an instance of the browser. We've opened up a browser, we've assigned it to this driver variable, and we can now do things with it and take control of it. So the first thing that we've done here, or the only thing that we've done with it here, is we have got it to navigate to, and then we've handed it a URL here, microsoft.com. So we run that, and at the moment it just opens up a browser and it heads on over to microsoft.com. So now let's start to do something a bit more interesting with our automation framework, if we can call it a framework at the moment. So now let's show you some other things that you can do with it that might be a little bit more useful in helping you with your testing. So first of all, I'm just going to show you how to maximize the window, which makes things a little bit easier sometimes if you want to see what's going on. So we do driver.manage.window.maximize. Let's have a look at that now. You can, to run these tests, you can actually run them from the command prompt if you want to do that. If you look at the way that RubyMine's running it, all it's simply doing, if you look at the terminal window here, the run window here, is every time you run it, you'll see that it's actually just running Ruby, and then it's just running your test RB file. So you can actually run this from the command prompt if you want to do it that way as well. From RubyMine, you can right click the tab, click run, or if you click the play button up here, that will actually just run the last thing that you ran. So because we've already run this, we can just click this play button up here. Here we go, it's opening up the browser, going to microsoft.com, and it should maximize it now. There we go. You saw it very quickly. I'll show you another command that's actually quite handy as well, is sleep. Now sleep will just pause things for a period of time. You specify that period of time in seconds here. So I do sleep 5. That will make things sleep for 5 seconds so that we can actually see that maximize browser if we want to do, which we want to do. It'll just make it easier so that we can see things when we're writing our automation scripts. We can kind of see what's going on. So this time around it should open up a browser, navigate to microsoft.com, maximize it, and then it will just sit there for 5 seconds. Just show you that. There you go. It'll sit there for 5 seconds. Time out, close itself down. Next, what I've done is I've got a website that I created. If you go to lazyautomation.co.uk /lazy1.html, I'll put this link in the notes. You'll see that I've just created a test web page here, and this web page has on it some of the elements that you probably encounter on a daily basis if you're a web tester, or you're just doing something else with websites on a daily basis and you're doing things over and over again, and that's why you're doing this course. The most useful thing to do with your browser once it's open is to be able to interact with these elements. So let's start off by getting our script to go to lazyautomation.co.uk /lazy.html. So I'll just copy that and let's just put that in here. and it's now going to go to lazy. It's going to maximize, and then we're going to wait for 5 seconds. So I'll tell you what we'll do first of all. Let's have a look at this button here. I've got this button and I've written a little bit of code behind it. So when you click the Hello World button, changes this bit of text here to Hello World. We can do that manually. Let's see if we can do that using our test script. First thing you want to do is we need a way of clicking this element. There's a lot of ways of doing this. So I'm just going to run through a couple of ways. So I do inspect with Chrome. You can right click, click inspect, and you can actually see the HTML behind here. So let's start off by looking at what we've got. We've got an element. It's a button type. It's got an on-click method. It's got an ID. It's got a name, and it's got some text here, and the text is Hello World. So the best way that I find, if you can do it, my first approach is generally always to try and go for the ID first of all, because it's the most reliable method of doing it. You don't generally get duplicate IDs if a website's coded correctly. If you do see duplicate IDs, then it's probably worth speaking to the developer that put them in there. But let's see if we can click that button using the ID. So the ID is Hello1. Okay, so we know we have a button we want to click. We know it's got an ID, and the ID is Hello1. So let's look at how we would go about clicking that. So first things first, let's go to our driver, and we're going to use something called find element. And find element is a way of finding an element. So what better method to use in this instance? So the first thing we need to specify, we do some open brackets at the end here, and we're going to pass in two things. We want to pass in what we want to pass in the way that we want to find something, and the identifier for that thing, if that makes sense. Let me try and articulate that a bit better. Colon, and then we type in ID, because we know it's the ID that we want to use to find it, to find the button. Comma, and then our second parameter, we want to specify what that ID is, and the ID is Hello1. So we've now found the element, and we want to say what we are going to do with it, and the thing that we want to do is to click it. So just simply type click at the end there. So now our script will go to our website, maximize the browser, it's going to click the button, and it's then going to sleep for 5 seconds. So we can see that it says Hello World on it. Let's run that. Here we go. Let's come to the website. You can see it says here is some text. It doesn't say Hello World. Oh, there we go. Did it quite quickly there. It maximized it. Click the button. The text says Hello World now. So there we go. We're doing something slightly more useful now with our script. Let's look at some other ways that we could have clicked that button. And this goes for all elements of how to find them. It's fairly kind of standard between them. Not a lot of this changes. So let's have a look at our website again. So we've also got a name here, Hello World. So we could use that. I wouldn't normally use the name. You can sometimes you can have issues with that. For example, if you were automating a website and the website had multiple languages, then this might be something else in another language. So if we were using this website and it happened to have a French version, and you went to the French site and then tried to run your script again, then this might fail, whereas the ID would probably stay the same between the different versions of the site. So let's try again with the name. So we'll take that, the name's Hello World. Come here, and this time we're going to specify a name because we want to click it by name, and we put in there Hello World, and let's run that again. Here is some text. Hopefully it will click that. Hello World. Brilliant. And waits for 5 seconds and disappears. Okay, another way of finding an element is to use something called XPath. So spell XPath. You use double quotes for this, and you put your XPath here. XPath is a way of finding an element within some XML, which is essentially what the code on the website is. The HTML is it's basically an XML document. So it goes through, uses the XML to kind of work out where an element is. So let me just show you how we can do that. It's actually quite simple. Right click the element here and click on copy and select copy XPath, and then let's minimize this, and then we copy our XPath in here. Okay, it's also worth knowing that this bit here, we want to change this because you can see this string that we've created here isn't happy. So we've got lots of double quotes in it, so we just change these quotes around the hello one to single quotes. There we go. Cool. So that's our XPath. The double slash indicates the root, and then it's just going to an ID called hello one, and we're clicking it. Let's just check that. There we go. Here is some text, hopefully in a second. Oh, there we go. Hello world. We've clicked the button again, this time using XPath. Right. So there's a few different ways there that you can use to find the element. My recommendation again is to just try and use the ID if you can do it. It's normally the most reliable way of finding something. So let's have a look at some of the other elements that we had on here, and we'll see if we can do some more things here. So here we go, we've got a text field. We inspect this, and let's see if we can put some text into this text field. So there you go, we've got a name, we've got a type, we could get some XPath if we wanted to. I'm just going to use the ID, so let's use text field 1, and let's put some text in our text field. So start again here. Let's do driver dot find element, and we're going to use ID, so colon ID comma space, and the ID is text field 1, and we want to send it some text, and we're going to use that using send underscore keys, and just open brackets, and in here we're going to type the text we want to send to the text box. Selenium is great. Okay, so this should now find our text field element, and it should send it some text. Selenium is great. Let's try that out. Selenium is great. There we go. We're getting better now. We're doing some more useful stuff. Cool. Let's have a look at the other elements that we had here and how we might manipulate them. Radio buttons, another common one here. We've got 2 radio buttons. Let's just right click on one of these, click on inspect element, and you can see that we've got radio button A, and it's got an ID of A, and we've got a radio button here as well, which is B, and it's got an ID of B. So let's select A, shall we? Let's see how that works. So start again, driver dot find element, and again we're going to do it by ID comma space, and we'll pop an A in there, and we'll put dot click. Let's try that. Fairly similar to the button. And there you go, a radio button's been checked. Okay, let's have a look at something else on the on our website. So we've got some checkboxes. So you can imagine that's fairly similar again to doing a radio button or doing a regular button. Just right click one of those, and let's look here. So we've got name here. Just use name this time again, just to mix it up a little bit. So let's click the goodbye checkbox here. So I'll do copy that, and let's try clicking the goodbye one. So let's change find element to name, and the name is goodbye, and we want to click that. So click play again. And you see it's unchecked, and now it's checked. Lovely. Okay, what else have we got here? We've got a link to another website here. So this is just a standard text link. Right click, click inspect, and you can see that here we've got an ID, so we could use the ID. We've done that a few times already, so let's try something a bit different and use the actual text that for the link to click it instead. So we just copy that. This is a link to another website, and we're going to use link underscore text, and let's pop that text in there, and we'll click use the click function still. Let's see if this works. And there's the browser, maximizes itself, and it should click that link. And there we go, and that goes to my band's website there. Bit of self promotion there for you. Okay, finally let's have a look at selecting a drop down. So you can see on our test site here, we've got a drop down. Same process again, right click, click inspect, and you can see that we have an ID, which is options 1, and we've got 3 options here, which is option A, option B, option C. Each one of these options in the HTML has a value, so the value is A, B, and C. So we want to select this element via the ID if we can, or we could use the name. We'll use the ID in this instance, and then we want to tell it to select one of these values. So let's go for value C. Okay, so slightly more tricky than the last one. What we're going to do here is, first of all, we need to assign the drop down to a variable that we're going to call drop down, and so we're going to do driver dot find element. Nothing new here so far, and we're using the ID, and the ID is options 1. Then we are going to create an option variable, which we're going to, oops, forgot the equals there, equals Selenium web driver support, and it's a select, and we've got new. And here for the arguments that we pass in, we're just going to pass in the element, and the element is the drop down that we've already declared here. So let's just type drop down here. Cool, we're there now. So we've got option, and we can now use the option to select something from it. So if we type select, and we'll do select by, and we will use value, so colon value comma, and let's just double check what the value was in that here. So we want to select the third one, and that's C. So let's just type C here and click play, and it's option A selected there. And there you go, you can see that it's maximized it and changed it to option C. Cool. That's quite a lot that we've covered there on clicking elements, but a lot of this stuff is quite reusable once you've got your head round how to find elements and interact with elements. Then that's kind of the core knowledge base that you need to be able to start automating your testing and your day-to-day things that you're doing with a browser and a website.